Hello everyone and welcome back to our course. In the previous lecture, we learned how to load in a data set about a stock. And in this lecture, I'm going to show you how we can analyze the data. All right, first up, we can generate a statistical summary of the data set just by calling dataset.describe. Then I can run that code cell, and here we'll see some stats about each column. As well, typically you'll want to check if you have any null values or not a number values. For that, I'll call dataset.isNull, and I'm going to grab values.any. So here I'm checking if we have any null values. Okay, we get false, which is good, because if we had any null values, we would have to handle them. Typically, we remove them. All right, next up, there's a lot more we could do. We could get the columns, the data types, the shape. We can also group our data set by any column. For example, let's group it by a numerical column first, like add close. I'll call dataset, and then I'll use group by, and I'll pass in here the column name. Then I can grab size to get the size of that. Okay, so here we're taking each of the closing prices and grouping them. Now, because the closing prices are so unique, this has really no importance, but it's more important for a categorical value, like if we had, for example, a value of class. Okay, so for that, I'm going to take the class column and I'm going to put it to use. So I'm going to make a new code cell here. I'm going to grab dataset and I'm going to group by the class and return the size of that. Okay, look at this. Now we have negative and positive. So we can see a categorical feature makes more sense for grouping. We have 626 instances of a negative class, meaning a negative return. That's what that column was. And 632 instances of a positive return. All right, we can also visualize the data by building different plots. For example, just as a sneak preview, I can use the Seaborn library in order to show the counts of a class, because although this is just a binary class, meaning it has only 2 categories, we could potentially have a categorical feature that has a lot more possibilities. So I'm going to first import the Seaborn library. It's a very popular library for visualization. Then I'm going to generate a count plot, which will plot the number of rows per category. I'm going to pass in an X as a class, which is what I want to count, and my data is my data set. All right, then I can run this code cell, and look at this. We have this count plot that's been generated. On the Y, we have the count, about 630 for each class, and on the X, we have the 2 classes. Next up, let's go and move on to our next lecture, where we're going to learn how we can visualize data even further, because there are quite a few plots that we can create. So head on over to that next lecture.